Hey everybody, Saigan here. I'm more composed now. It's later in the day. That video this morning was just rough to do. You'll note I have not burned all of my DQ merchandise behind me. It hasn't happened. Um, the whole debacle does put me in a really bizarre freaking situation. Let's go over that. First and foremost, the people who think that this is just another content ID matching issue, it's not anymore. The content ID matching issue happened a month ago on December 16th, I want to say. That was the content ID match. I disputed it. I sent them a message through YouTube. I contacted SquareEnix corporate in America. And I got into contact with somebody there, a very polite gentleman, who's like, yeah, we've been hearing about this. We've been helping people out with it. Your case is a little bit different because Square Enix America doesn't actually do anything with Dragon Quest X yet. He didn't say yet. Let me preface this by saying he did not say yet. We don't do anything with Dragon Quest X. That's entirely handled by the Japanese side because it's not out in America. There's no hint in there that Dragon Quest X is coming out, so don't jump on that. So he said, let's get you in contact with the Japanese side. I was like, cool, thanks, man. You've been really helpful. I was not expecting this from Square Enix. And we got, an email written up and sent over to Japan. And nothing. Nothing all this time until a day before the dispute would have expired and they would have lost the ability to claim the video against me. And they deny it. They never responded to my email. They never responded to my tweets. They never responded to my messages on YouTube. They did not answer me. I opened up a line of communication directly related to this video issue, and they ignored it. Square Enix of Japan does not care. Square Enix of America responded. So right now, we already have this weird thing going on where Square Enix of America is actually like, become kind of friendly and, fan-friendly and responding to people and helping them keep Final Fantasy XIV videos up, that kind of thing. Square Enix of Japan can go choke on a dick. Now, this complicates things, clearly. I mean, aside from the 2 years of time I've invested in trying to build up their series and get it recognized here in the US, which I think I've done moderately well. I mean, there's probably at least 20 people who now know about Dragon Quest, maybe. Square Enix of America is a subsidiary. You know the word that I'm looking for. Of Square Enix Japan. I cannot talk right now. It's been a very, very, very long day. I woke up, I got the message, I recorded the video, I uploaded it, I went to work, I came home, I worked out, and now I'm recording this video, and then I've got a Netrunner tournament to go run in 40 minutes. I like to stay busy. So, there's also the issue of, well, it's a matter of publishers and lawyers and developers. Now, I'm not a game designer, but I'm going to go out on a limb and say that the reason some game designers get into the business is because they have an idea for a game and they want people to play that game. Might be a little bit of a stretch in my logic there, I'm not sure. To not release it outside of your country is a publisher issue. The publisher, for whatever reason, says, well, we don't think that the time is right to release such and such game over yonder. We'll see how things go. Maybe a third party will pick it up and publish it for us. Sometimes that doesn't happen. Sometimes fans have to go through the trouble of importing a game at increased expense. Mind you, importing from Japan is very expensive. Sometimes they have to buy a second Wii system, specifically to mod, so that it can play Japanese games legitimately. I'm going to make that point again. All of this was done legitimately. I had never, any point, pirated anything from Square Enix. I purchased the Wii, I purchased the game, I purchased the game time. I am even paying for the damned VPN so that I can connect to a Japanese server so I can get past the IP blocking. And I did all of this because I really, really, really want the game to come out here. I want it to be successful here. When it releases here, I want people to go, I've seen this online. I've seen some of the Japanese footage of the game, and it looks really cool. I can't wait to play it and understand what the hell's going on, right? I mean, that all makes sense to me. What do I know? So you share this video, and it gets 100,000 views. It introduces you to people. Many of you are now friends. I chat with some of you over Skype. Some of you I play video games with. Zen, definitely. Amesworth, Mimas, Cranberry, lots of you. And it's been a blast. And that's what Dragon Quest has always kind of been. And that's what RPGs have often been about, is sharing that experience. Many RPGs kind of get knocked for not being multiplayer and they're very solo experience. And a lot of people from the outside might look at it and say, well, it's kind of a very lonely thing to just be sitting in the dark playing an RPG by yourself. But they're missing the conversations that come later. They're missing the conversations where you're talking to somebody and they're like, oh, well, did you find the Falcon Sword in the boat? And you're like, there's a Falcon Sword in the boat? Is it good? And suddenly you have a community building up around this great game. And that's what like the Dragon's Den is, and you know, I've kind of found a nice home there amongst other Dragon Quest fans. And the big irony here, the giant irony, is that Dragon Quest is not my favorite series. Phantasy Star is. I specifically picked Dragon Quest because I felt it was always being overlooked. I felt that it deserved better. I would rather be playing Phantasy Star. I mean, I absolutely love Dragon Quest, don't get me wrong, but what does that tell you about how I feel about Phantasy Star? Oh my god. The games are incredible. I think they're visionary. Every single one, well, every single one of them, except for the Game Gear ones, and only halfway on Phantasy Star 3 on the Genesis. I think they're all absolutely incredible, visionary games, and I would recommend them to anyone, except maybe Phantasy Star Universe. A lot of them are really, really, really good games. Kind of the same way that Final Fantasy suffers from, oh, we have amazing freaking games like Final Fantasy VI, and then we have, wah-wah, Final Fantasy X. And it's just, the whole thing has put me in this really weird, bizarre situation because I love Yuji Horii work. I love Koichi Sugiyama's music. I love Akira Toriyama's designs. And I don't think that the actions of Lawyer Bot at Square Enix, who pushed the button and said, no, fuck this guy, are reflected by, no, fuck this guy. That made sense in my head. I'm not sure how much made it through, but we're going to keep going. I can still force the video up. I can still dispute. The problem at this point is, and I want to make this clear for everybody, and I also don't want to hear any legal advice from anybody who's not an actual copyright lawyer, and if you are, let's chat. If I dispute it again and force it back up, the only way that Square Enix can take it down is to sue me. Now, I know us Americans kind of have this, oh, we'll bring it to court, blah, 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 mindset, and it's a stereotype, and stereotypes exist for a reason often. I'm not one of those. I don't want to go to court against an international multi-million-dollar corporation over them taking down an hour-long video trying to hype up their game. I don't really want to have to fight for the right to promote them. Because at this point, why would I? Many people have said, oh, well, it was the Content ID system. The Content ID system clearly hooked onto the footage of the opening because that's what they used for the trailer. And yes, you're absolutely right. That is how they found the video. And yes, I could go back, download the video from my site. I'm assuming I can still download it. Actually, that's a really good question. Let's find out. So, assuming that I did do this thing, and I did go back and I downloaded the video and I edited out the opening, and they suddenly had nothing left for the Content ID Doombot to latch onto. And I go back to supporting them. The question now is, do they deserve it? And that's the really tricky question, because the company is not going to reflect the ideas of the designers. Can I? Nope, I can't even download a backup of it. So that's out of the way anyways. And I don't have a local backup because it was over a year ago, and I'm nearing 600 videos on YouTube. I don't have the storage space for that in my $500 PC that I built myself with leftover parts. Why go through the trouble of assisting this company that doesn't want its fans? I'm not going to go away. I'm going to keep doing what I enjoy doing. Anything Square Enix related may cease. We're not going to take down like the videos that they haven't touched or anything. I still believe that there's a lot of people who have a lot to gain from the series, because it is absolutely a wonderful series. But I don't feel that I can go further in trying to promote them from this point. I'm still reaching out to them. I'm still trying to get a hold of them. They can still choose to let that video go back up. And if they do that, fantastic, because I would love to support Square Enix. I think I've shown over the last 2 years that I really want to support Square Enix. But at this point in time, they are not worthy of it. So I'm going to go and support those who are worthy of support. Stoic Games. I just started a Banner Saga Let's Play. Game is amazing. Stoic Games represents something just absolutely brilliant, because these are a bunch of ex-BioWare employees. BioWare used to make amazing RPGs, and then they kind of took a deep slump about the time that EA picked them up. Fancy that. That's strange, isn't it? Now suddenly you have all of these employees who worked at BioWare and worked on these amazing games like Jade Empire. Thank you, Vestalence, for reminding me about that one. Knights of the Old Republic, Neverwinter. You have all these people who worked on these amazing games before EA snatched up the company. And the games kind of got worse. And I'm looking at you, Mass Effect and Dragon Age. So now you have these people who aren't stuck under this big company anymore, and they're free to do what they want, and you get an amazing piece of art like Banner Saga. And a lot of gaming companies are starting to see this. They're having people leave the company. Keiji Inafune left Capcom. Kickstarted a new, what's essentially a Mega Man clone called Mighty Number 9. It looks absolutely fantastic. I funded it. I can't wait for it to come out. Project Phoenix, that's another one. They got a bunch of powerhouses from both Japanese and Western RPG development studios to work on this together. And it's not being made by some giant Doom studio. There was another one that just came out. I can't remember the name, but it's on Kickstarter right now. It's only been up for like 2 days and it's already funded. And it looks really good. It's being made by the guy who designed Final Fantasy Tactics 2, Advanced 2, and also a large portion of Final Fantasy 12. And it looks absolutely incredible. And that's what happens when you take these brilliant game designers and they suddenly escape from the corporate system that is forcing them to churn out all these games. We saw it with Ultima in the past. You know, you had an amazing Ultima series up through 7, and then EA picked up Origin and they went to shit. And Lord British even came forward and said this, like, they were forcing him to release unfinished games. That's why Ultima 8 was terrible, because it wasn't done yet. It wasn't the game that he wanted to give to people. It wasn't the story that he wanted to tell. I think that the really good game designers, the games that they make are labors of love. And I think that the publishers and the big development studios that get a hold of these small, small teams and brilliant minds, just kind of drag them down. And, we saw it with Blizzard. When WoW blew up and Blizzard suddenly had to increase 20-fold, we saw a lot of that creativity just kind of dissipate. Because now they were this big successful company and they were focused on making money instead of making games that they themselves would want to play. Now they're focusing on audience. Kind of lost where I was going with this rant. But I am feeling better. Thank you everybody for your support. It really meant a lot to me. I want to hear your thoughts. Your honest thoughts and opinions on what I should do regarding Dragon Quest content from this point on. Clearly, it's leaving a bad taste in my mouth right now. That taste is one of bile. But it is a series that means a lot to a lot of people. I don't think that Akira Toriyama, Yuji Horii, or Koichi Sugiyama would want their fans treated like this. It just doesn't make any sense to me. They've all struck me as wonderfully friendly, caring people in their interviews. I was going to, later on in this year, once I hit 2,000 subscribers, do a marathon of Dragon Quest 2. I'm still completely willing to do a marathon. Whether it's of Dragon Quest 2, I'm actually going to leave that up to you guys to decide. If you really want to punish me with Roan, okay. But I'm sure there are other I have so many games, and there are plenty in boxes. That is a full, 6-foot tall bookshelf, and it is just jam-packed with games. And it's lovely, isn't it? Think about what you want me to marathon. Maybe we'll just do it as a goodbye to Dragon Quest. As I say goodbye to a series that I loved, and a series that I hope one day the publishers and Law Dogs will look back and say, oh, maybe the fans were important. I don't have a really good way to end this video, so I'm just going to say ciao. Later, guys. Wish me luck at my Netrunner tournament.